A lot of people are asking me, Genius, how is life in Sweden? How about this? How is the weather? How is the food? How is this? How is that? So I get so many of these questions. That's why I decided to make this video. In this video, I'll be discussing 7 things you have to know before you make the move. Before you move to Sweden, you must know these 7 things. So let's just start. The very first thing you must know before you decide to move to Sweden, or before you actually move to Sweden, is the lifestyle here. Many of us that come from Nigeria or different places in Africa, we are used to the community lifestyle where you know your neighbor, where you know who is next door to you, you know who is even in the next compound, as far as, we have this community kind of lifestyle. That's not the same in Sweden. Sweden is, even though there are communities, but here thrives in individuality. You need to know how to be the best by being yourself and with yourself. Individual lifestyle is what's in vogue here. You can live in a place for 1 year and you don't know who your neighbor is. Yeah, you might know their faces, you might see them when they move inside, you might probably know their name, but don't expect anybody to invite you to their homes. You might have known your neighbor for 1 year, 2 years, you know their name, you know that they are your neighbor. If you still knock on their door to have a discussion or to tell them about something that is important, that is related to them, you have that discussion outside. Nobody will necessarily invite you into their house, into their homes. You have to understand that here people live individual lifestyle. And another thing about this individual lifestyle is that many people are indoors. I mean, in Nigeria, where I come from, generally in Africa, because we have this hot or warm climate, we don't usually thrive, or we don't usually want to stay indoors. We want to be outdoor at any time. Any opportunity we see, we are outdoor. You will suffocate. You will feel like something is missing, something is not all right. If you stay indoor for 5 hours, 6 hours, you want to be outside. You want to feel your environment. You want to, we have this outdoor, we socialize more, we build communities more. It's either religious communities in the mosque, in the church, or it is either social communities, it's either parties, it's either this. We celebrate everything. We celebrate birthdays, we celebrate this, we celebrate that. So there's so many chances for us to build communities, socialize. Even in our own families, we have dad, mom, cousin, grandfather, grandmother, cousins, the cousin, and so forth. So we thrive in communities. But when it comes to Sweden, it is more of you are on your own. How you live, you're on your own. Where you live, you're on your own. So you have to understand this kind of lifestyle that this is what they love. Nobody is ready to disturb their neighbor. So I'll go to the next thing about Sweden. Before you move to Sweden, you also have to understand the weather. The weather is entirely different from the weather we know in Africa or in some other places outside Sweden. Even the weather is different with other parts of Europe. This is Northern Europe. The weather here is different from the weather in Western Europe. It's different from the weather in elsewhere. This is Scandinavia. This is the Nordic region. We are closer to the Northern Lights. So to break this simply down, it is cold in Sweden, like literally cold. And there's this thing about I used to live in Nigeria. So when they tell me Sweden is cold, I was like, imagine the coldness in Nigeria too. Sometimes it gets cold in Nigeria, So I just imagined basically the same thing, that if it's cold, you just wear a jacket. But the cold here is like, do you know when you open a refrigerator or a freezer, that chill air that comes out? That's how cold it is in Sweden. Now here, like every other European country, they have 4 seasons: the autumn, the winter, the spring, and the summer. Now the winter is what we're talking about. During winter, snow. The Swedish winter starts Well, not unofficially, according to how you feel. You will feel Swedish winter from late October, November, depending if you are in the north. So it is colder in the northern part of Sweden, and it is warmer towards the south. So if you just look at the map of Sweden, up north, cold, colder, coldest. Down south, warm, warmer, warmest. So when you're also choosing location to live, you also need to understand the weather in each location. So from October, depending on the part of Sweden you live in, you start feeling the presence of winter. The coldness starts coming. But officially, winter starts usually in December, and snow usually starts some places in October if you're in the north. If you are down south, some places in December. And it will continue till April the next year. And that is when winter will be over. So you have to be ready for the cold. And in Sweden, from my own personal experience, it is usually coldest in January, February. That's usually the coldest period. Then from March, it starts going down. Then April, we enter spring. The spring season, during winter, everything is kind of dry. Everywhere is very cold. It's just white and snowing. The snow is beautiful. I must say, the snow is beautiful. I play in the snow, and that by the way. So during the winter, the trees have no leaf. They have no leaf. So all the leaves are already off before in the previous season. Now during spring, the flower starts to grow again. So this is a beautiful time. It's like a new birth. The whole of Sweden starts to become a new birth. The flowers bloom, and this is spring. Now spring will continue from April, May, June. Summer starts. So summer is when everywhere is green. I mean, the most beautiful weather, the most beautiful season of the year. Everywhere is warm. I mean, Sweden is the best place to be during summer, according to my own. So, during summer is beautiful. Everywhere is just alive. People want to be outdoor. People want to be outside. People want to experience the sun. Because during winter, in some part of Sweden, you will literally see no sun. Like, no sun at all. You're talking about winter. During winter in Sweden, daylight becomes very, very short. If you are in the northern Sweden, you can get only maybe 4 hours of daylight. That means in the morning starts, or the morning brightens up around 10 a.m. and then it goes dark, total darkness around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. So depending on the part of Sweden you are, if towards the south, the longer daylight you might have, towards the north, the shorter daylight you have, and towards the north, the colder it is too. So in summer, we now have like the regular timeline where by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, the sun rises. By 6 p.m., the sun goes down. And this is like June. Then in July, we now have longer days and shorter nights. This means that it doesn't, even though it is evening, it doesn't go dark at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. It goes dark maybe 9 p.m. So you in the road at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., everywhere is bright. And in some part of Sweden, it doesn't go dark at all. And this is the concept of midnight sun. So some part of Sweden during summer, you get to experience the midnight sun, where there will be actually no darkness at midnight. So day in, day out is day. Like literally no night, no darkness. So there's also the beauty of the weather here. You experience the wonders of nature. You experience the nature at its best. So after summer, we now enter the next season, which is fall or autumn. So this is the season, it's a circle. From winter to spring to summer, after summer, autumn or fall. So what does this autumn? Autumn is just the fall of trees, not trees, the leaves. The leaves on trees will start falling down. So that's why they call it fall. So the leaves will first of all turn from, is it yellow first? From yellow to brown to red to dryness, then it will fall off, and then it will start getting cold. This is like climbing to winter. So fall starts from August or September, depending where you are in Sweden too, and it will continue till the winter sets in. So this is the weather, and you have to prepare. And now the beautiful thing is that if you live here, you will acclimatize with the weather. I mean, it's no big deal really. In Sweden, they say there is no bad weather. You only have bad clothing. So if it is very, very cold, you simply dress for the coldness. If it is very, very I don't think it gets very, very warm. Maybe in 2 weeks it might get very, very, very warm during summer. Aside that 2 weeks, it is cold. During winter it is cold, but outside these 2 weeks, it is the perfect temperature. It is neither cold nor warm. There's a phrase Swedish people use. It says lagom, like balance. It's neither this nor this. It's just balance. So between May to June, you will have this lagom weather, this cool weather. It's just cool. And then during June, July, you have a hotter weather. And during August, you have August, September, you have this cool weather. And from October, you are on your journey to winter. So that's how the weather is, circles, and you enjoy it. Different season, different clothing style. During summer, you wear less clothing. During winter, you put on jacket, you put it on, there are winter jackets, there are different kinds of jackets. So when we get here, you know what jacket to buy. So let's go to the next. The next thing is job market. How is job market in Sweden? So many people want to go to Sweden, they will get a job. Some people come as students, they want to study. Some don't want to study, but they just, okay, that's by the way. So some people come, they want to get a job. Now the question is, how can I get a job? Should that even be the priority when trying to come to Sweden? I think yes. Getting a job should be priority. You should have plans even before you come. Even there's this Swedish visa called job seekers visa, where you are given a visa. Sweden gives you a visa just to come to Sweden to look for jobs. So if you can check out the immigration website, you see this visa we're talking about. You can apply for it to come to Sweden to look for a job. But before you make that decision to apply for this visa, you have to understand the kind of job you're looking for. You have to know, am I qualified for this job? Do I have the necessary thing required in this job? Remember, Sweden speaks Swedish as an official language, even though everything is in English. Not everything, but 80% of Swedes speak English. So you might live in Sweden and you will never encounter someone who cannot speak English. So everybody literally speaks English. So you might not have an issue with that. But when it comes to job seeking, most jobs need you to be multilingual. So most jobs need you to be speaking Swedish and English. Most jobs even need you to be speaking English, Swedish, and other Nordic languages like the Danish from Denmark, the Finnish, Finland, the Norwegian languages. So the more languages you know, you're at advantage. So if you can actually learn a language, it will impact your job search. And if you're here simply because of job, you need to know the qualification you have. You need to also have the qualifications that you might look out. So many times we overlook these things. Do you have a driver's license? Very, very important. Before you come to Sweden, make sure you have the driver's license from your country. Now, many jobs require certifications, especially professional jobs. Let's say you're into the medical field, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, or you're a teacher, and you want to come to Sweden and you have plans of, getting a job here, being in the same industry you have always been. It is very, very important that you understand the certifications that are needed and you make efforts towards securing those certifications and being ready for the job market. Sometimes you are required to translate these certifications to Swedish. Sometimes you are required to actually do new. Like let's say you're a doctor in Nigeria, you're a doctor in Ghana, you're a doctor somewhere else, and you want to come to Sweden to also be a doctor. It is entirely a different thing. You might actually need to go back to school, maybe to do a top-up education. You might actually, depending as the case may be, you might actually need to do some certification examination in Swedish. So you have to actually know the local language to progress in that profession. So you need to understand this. Learn some basic skills, driving skills. If you can also learn some handworks, it will be very, very necessary and important for you, to fall back on if you are coming here for a job. So the next thing you must know, like I just mentioned in this job search, is language. 80% of Swedes speak English. Many of them that you encounter, they will speak English, they will converse with you in English, but the official language of Sweden is Swedish. This means that by legality, the country is Swedish in language. The road signs are Swedish. The you're signing a contract, it comes in Swedish. Some people might do extra one in English. Even school education, most programs are in Swedish, although that graduate programs, almost all of them are in English, but most bachelor's programs for students are in Swedish. Just 10% might be in English, and not all schools. So you have to start learning Swedish. This will be very, very helpful for you. If you're able to know the language, you are expanding your scope in job search, you are expanding your scope in integration, you're expanding your scope in being part of the community, being part of the place you are moving to. So learning Swedish, the basic, you don't need to become 100% in Swedish, no, but you just need to know the basic. Tack så mycket, välkommen, that's welcome, thank you. You don't know those basics, know how to greet, know how to respond, create the literacy and basic understanding of Swedish. It will help you. You might not even know exactly where it will help you, but it will help you. Even though, like I said, over 80% of people you might encounter speak English. So even without Swedish, you can comfortably survive, comfortably progress, comfortably live here. So the next thing aside language is food. So many of you are so used to the food that you've always eaten. For Igbo brothers, you want to eat akpo, you want to eat, oha soup and stuff like that. Now, if that's the only thing you can eat, have your money in your pocket. Ego, kudi, owo, money. Have your money in your pocket, because to go to African store or special stores or restaurants is pretty expensive, compared to the cost at home. So you also need to open up your mind on trying international food, trying food that's not the food you've always eaten. I mean, you come here, you want to eat rice. Rice is everywhere. But now you go to buy rice, you find out that, wow, there are 4 different kinds of rice. Which one do I eat? Which one am I used to? You don't need to go with the one you're used to. Try new things. There are local foods, and because Sweden is very, very intercontinental, you will get food from all over the world, from Asia, from Africa, from Latin America, any kind of food you find it. And also there is also the Swedish meals. Even the Swedish meal, there's a popular Swedish meal you might know, the Swedish meatballs. I mean, everybody knows meatballs, Swedish meatballs. Meatballs like no other meatballs. Try new things, try new food. Just open up your mind. And if you're the person who is very, very concerned about the kind of food you eat, you're very, very concerned about, maybe because of your health situation, you must stick to certain food, you can also come with those things while you're coming to Sweden. And if it turns out, by the time, come with things that will serve you for the first few months. Then within that first few months, you know how to replace those things, even though it might cost you a little more. So understand that, but open up your mind to try new food. Open up your mind to even see cheaper species of different things that you know, and embrace them and make them a lifestyle. So you mustn't be this, I must eat apple, I must eat oha soup, I must eat egusi soup. No. I mean, the first time I moved to Sweden, I didn't taste soup for a long time, because even though I had egusi, I came with egusi, but I didn't have some other things like red oil and stuff like that. I had to find African store before I could find red oil, before I could start preparing my own food. And I must say, preparing your own food is cheap. In Sweden, people eat out a lot. I mean, those who own restaurants might say that restaurant business is the new oil business in Sweden. People eat out. I mean, people love it. Sometimes every day, sometimes over the weekend. So sometimes you should also eat out. But cooking your own meal is way cheaper. Cooking your own meal is more comfortable, it's more affordable, it's more anything you can think of. So the next thing is the culture of people here. I started this video by talking about lifestyle, but I dwelt on the indoor lifestyle, the community lifestyle, the individual lifestyle. But there is other part of the lifestyle is the culture, in the sense like what to say, what not to say, how is it here. So in Sweden, they have, will I say taboo topics? Yes, taboo topics. Topics that nobody just talks about them. Nobody cares to talk about them. So I think to have a a wonderful flow with people, you also need to embrace these kind of things. So in Sweden, people don't talk about money. You can be working with somebody in an office for 10 years and you don't know how much they earn. Because in Sweden, you might never know how much your colleague earns. Like, because even though you and your colleague is doing the same job, your salary might be different. Because when you get a job in Sweden, you negotiate your salary. Let's say you are being employed by IKEA or by a company, and then let's say you are being employed by IKEA. When during your employment, in many cases, an offer will be made to you. In other cases, you will be asked, what is the range of salary that you're expecting? What range do you want? What range? And now, in these cases, you negotiate your salary. You're negotiating with your managers or with your employer. I want to be paid this, I want to be paid that. And at the end of the day, you come about your salary. Now, you negotiate, Mr. A might negotiate something way higher, and Mr. B negotiates a bit lower. And it works. But the same contract, like you guys are doing the same job. So in Sweden, people don't necessarily talk about how much they have. Sweden, you can say, is a humble society. So people don't really care. You are a billionaire, they don't care much, you know. You are this, you are that. People don't care. Nobody cares about how much you have, how much you're earning, even in the same office. And they don't talk about money. Money is like this taboo topic. You don't ask people, give me money for this or give me money for that. You take care of yourself. You pay your bills. You do your things yourself. So money is like, you don't even ask people, oh, I want to transfer money to your account to do this, to do that. They even become suspicious of you. So money is one of the taboo topics I came to find out in Sweden. And when relating with people, depending how close you are to them in Sweden, you also need to know how you discuss money or money issues. Then the next thing is politics. They don't talk about politics. They don't like talking about politics. They see it as sometimes a waste of time because it usually ends in argument. So if you come to a Swedish family, there's a table, everybody is having dinner or having a lunch together, nobody's going to talk about politics. Nobody's going to talk about, oh, P2B did this, oh, the president of this country did this, oh, the president of America. Nobody's going to talk about that. The president of Sweden, the president of the prime minister, nobody. So politics is one of those taboo topics. Keep your political opinion to yourself, unless we're in a political gathering, or unless you are very close to this set of friends or set of people whom you are with. Then, of course, you can discuss politics. Then the next kind of taboo topic, not really that anybody comes out and says this is a taboo topic. Don't get it wrong. Nobody comes out anywhere and says, oh, you will never discuss politics. Oh, you should never discuss money. Nobody does that. But you just, when you start this discussion with people, in many cases, they will start avoiding you. In many cases, they will, just not feel comfortable with you. And you wouldn't want people who you call your friends or people who you meet to always feel uncomfortable with you. Now, the third taboo topic, I think, is religion. So this is a society where it's a secular society, but everyone is free to practice whatever they want to practice. You're a Muslim, you are free to practice your Islamic religion. You are a Christian, you are free to practice your Christianity. You believe in something else, or you're atheist, you don't believe in God at all. You're free. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to care. Even though sometimes you could see preachers on the streets, but nobody literally cares or tries to stop them from preaching or from what they're doing, but you don't bring it to people's face. So when you're with unless they are quite close to you or they are your religious friends, outside this set of people, I will put religion as part of the taboo topics in Sweden. This is my own opinion. People are not usually comfortable when you start discussing this religion did this or that religion did that. Just keep your opinion to yourself. And I have another one which I also think is will I call it taboo topic but being conscious of the kind of society Sweden is. Sweden is a liberal society where it's acceptable for many people to identify as what they wish to identify as. So some people identify as men, some identify as women, some identify as queer, some identify as even people's sexual orientation is also different. people, gender identity different. So you might be coming from a society that has this binary identity of you either male or female. If you are not female, then you are male. Then if you're not male, you're female. But in Swedish society, it's a bit different. People have the right to identify as whatever gender they wish to. So when you meet someone, you don't just put it to their face, are you a man? Are you a woman? Or are you this? Or let's say someone who is born a male but decides to dress a way that you think is not a way a man should think based on your own culture. Based on your own culture. You should never confront, you should never try to impose your own understanding and culture on people. So these kind of things are some sort of also taboo topics. Let people just do what they want to do as long as they are within the law. Of course, everybody can also be a citizen police, but there is a police when people are breaching the law. But when it comes to your discussion with your circle or with people you meet, you also need to be careful. You also need to be conscious of how people feel when it comes to the issues of gender. And now the another part, which is also I think you have to know before you move to Sweden, is the dating scene. If you are single and you are interested in dating, in getting married over here in Sweden, in meeting someone, it is not as it is where I come from. In Nigeria, where I come from, people, many cases prefer to meet whom they want to date. You can literally be walking on the road. Let's say you're a man like me, you identify as a man, as a male. You see a woman whom you're interested in on the road. You see a lady, you're like, oh, this lady is beautiful, I want to talk to her. Then you walk, and now you stop the lady, you talk to the lady, you say, oh, you're beautiful, can I have a call? You can do this in America, you can do this in Nigeria, and many other places. But in Sweden, you can. But in many cases, people feel uncomfortable when strangers walk up to them on the road. You just see a stranger, you walk up to them and you're like, you're beautiful, or you're handsome, or they feel uncomfortable. So how can you now find the love of your life? How can you find your soulmate? How can you find, So just like it is in many other parts of the world, you don't go asking your colleagues out or people who you should be in professional relationship with. You shouldn't go trying to make it some informal, even though that people are really nice and informal here. People in Sweden are very, very respectful. Even when they don't like what you're doing, they don't just put it to your face arrogantly, oh, this, that. No. They calm down. Many people will rather avoid you next time instead of confronting you. So they might not confront you, they'll just avoid you. So how do you date here? How do you find the love of your life? Well, it is through the internet. There are many applications where you could put in your profile, put in your details, and you find the love of your life, people you're interested in. You register in these dating apps, you see people who are also interested in dating, you like them or you send them messages and they respond, you start a conversation. That's just it. That's basically it. That's how you find whom to date. But aside that, another way you can find people to date is through your community. Now, if you belong to a church or you belong to some other kind of social communities or people from your country or people from your, those kind of communities is also a nice way to meet people. You might have something to do when it comes to dating and relationships. Also, recommendation works well here. If a friend recommends you to a friend, the chances that it's going to work out, if you like each other, the chances that it's going to work out is very, very high. So if you're interested in relationships and dating, get friends to recommend you. Now, you also need to be careful. In Sweden is an equal society, in the sense that men and women or every gender, they are all treated equally at all points. Even in the relationship, you have the equality you can imagine. So you go out, the man doesn't just pay or the other gender doesn't just pay. You share the bills, 50-50. So that's how equal the society is here. Oh, so when you also go on a date with someone, you don't just like, oh, I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice person, I want to pay for all the things. Sometimes they might misinterpret it depending on who you're with. Some might see it, oh, that's beautiful, oh, that's just so lovely. Oh, some people might blush, appreciate it. Other persons might feel like that's not cool. Are you trying to say that I can't pay for myself? Why are you trying to pay for me? Is that some kind of to show like you dominate or what? Am I a subordinate? So when you need to, when you go on a first date, you don't know this person, just do the regular Swedish thing, pay for yourself, they pay for themselves. Maybe subsequently, if you have a relationship, you can decide, okay, I want to be taking care of some of these bills or this bill or that bill, as you are depending on, but in my culture, the man takes responsibility. You go on a date, you clear the bills, you take charge. But here is an equal society, including in money, including in things you buy, what you spend. Everybody have their own money and everybody solves their own problem. So another thing also you might want to know in dating scene is that here consent is everything. I mean, you want to, it's in my culture too, it's easy to hug someone. You see someone, you just want to grab a hug, you just want to give a hug, some innocent hug. But here, you have to be sure that the person you want to hug wants to hug you back. Some people are just huggers, if there's something like that. They love hugging, they love the gesture of hugging, is welcoming. So, but you don't just hug people. You have to be sure that they want to hug you back or shake you or stuff like that. So that's the kind of, when it comes to relationship and dating, you understand that it's more digital than traditional. Some people still appreciate the traditional ways, but you must do it very, very politely. If you're to meet a lady on the way or in the metro, you want to talk to them, you must know how to approach them, how to. The last thing I think you should know that I want to add as an extra, I've already mentioned the 7 things. So the one I want to add as an extra is some little things like, in Sweden, this currency is Swedish crowns. Euros is not a currency here. So many people might think, Sweden is not an Europe, they are using euro. No. Sweden uses Swedish crowns, and it's different from euro. Euro, might not be able to use euro. This is also a cashless society. It's mainly an online, digital-based society. That means that you might live in Sweden and you never use cash. Even though there is cash, you can use cash for some things, some places, but in many places, you just use your card, your ATM, and you make your purchases. It could also be digital card, it could be a physical card. So you have to understand that. You also have to understand that the cost of things from your home country might not be the same with the cost of things here, in the sense that here is based on the earning power here. So for example, when I came from Nigeria to Sweden, and I'm like, things are super, super expensive in Sweden. Generally, things are expensive. I mean, compared to some other European countries, things are more expensive in Sweden. But that's also the quality of life in Sweden. It's high, it's on the high side. The quality of life is a bit high, I mean, compared to so many other places. And also the income is also high compared to so many other places. So if you're comparing your own home currency with that of here, you might scream. You might even want to, how can I do this for this? How can I, let me give you an example. The amount I pay for my 6 months rent in Nigeria, the same amount is my 1 month rent here. So you understand the differences. So you also need to know these differences between how money works in both places, what your money can afford and what it cannot afford. And I think that information is very vital. What else do you think? I mean, there's so many things, but I will allow you, if there's something you think I'm missing, something you have to know before you move to Sweden, or you wish to know, just go in the chat box, just mention it. And I might make another video still on this. In this video, we dwelt on 7 things you must know. In subsequent video, I might add up more based on what you add in the comment section. So if there's something you need to know, you think you want to know before you make the decision to move, kindly let me know, and I'll be very glad to welcome you to Sweden.